Hello and welcome to another installment of the Ultimate Relationship Conversation Starter with Romeo Mabasa. My wife and I, we wrote a book called The Ultimate Relationship Conversation Starter, and this is a 500-page book which you can find from us directly. And if you want to get in touch with me on Twitter, I am Maromza, and on Instagram, Romeo.anyani, and on Facebook, it's Romeo Mabasa or Romeo Motivational Speaker Mabasa. And of course, you can find me here on TikTok as well, Romeo.anyani. Over time, relationships get very challenging, especially, how we have to conversate. And most of us really struggle to really sustain, beautiful conversations. And we kind of like start drifting apart, and you see this, the most common pattern is when people are together but apart because everybody is busy talking to other people, on their cell phones. And after that, it kind of like gets awkward over time, and that's how people decide and say, maybe we're not good together, and they drift apart and the relationship end. But what we find is that you need to learn to be intentional. And one of the topics that I wanted to talk about today is what we call a relationship equanimity. And relationship equanimity is our ability to start talking about the typical challenges that any relationship can go through, and how are we as a couple going to navigate those challenges. So equanimity means our ability to be resilient, especially in tough times, because any and all relationships go through tough times. But as a couple, you kind of like start to have and understand the pattern of the challenges that you could go through as a couple. And why don't you simulate that? And I find that makes for very interesting conversations. So whatever happens, don't always find that you are forced to talk because things are now tough. You don't have a choice. You have to try and, navigate. And most of the time you are fighting because you never sit and simulate and saying, now that we've been together for this long, what are the typical challenges that we can go through? And if we go through these challenges, what are we going to do? You talk about finances. What happens if both of us lose our jobs? What are we going to do? What happens if our house gets repossessed? What happens if we lose both our cars? What happens if we experience, death of a child? We experience death of, a family member who one of us is very, very attached to. How are we going to navigate those things? But whatever happens, build systems and methods to be able to handle tough times together. Because if you come out, you become stronger together. Enjoy.